All right, so we're gonna talk about done for you recruiting. So my name is Satyam. I've recruited well over 170 salespeople, right? For info businesses, agencies, and a few software companies here and there. But I'm gonna go over a few things, right? So if let's say right now you're running a company, here's the thing. Let's make this really clear. Let's call it the elephant in the room. Whenever you're hiring a manager, right? Don't assume that he's gonna recruit your entire sales team. Like that is an anomaly. I'm naturally a good recruiter and I've managed teams and I've been able to pull it off successfully. There's plenty of managers out there who have sort of a network, but don't really know how to recruit correctly. And it's a gamble. That's also why recruiting companies exist. But here at VF Recruiting, we actually do both. And I'm gonna kind of walk you through a few key points today on how to make sure you can recruit better as a company. And it's gonna give you some insight. So moving forward, you can just make sure you have talent, you can attract the right talent and you have talent that sticks, right? So I'm just gonna go over a few key factors, right? So at the end of the day, right, the thing with you guys, with this company, whether you run an info business and you can run a consulting business, software company, it doesn't matter. Like talent compounds, talent is super, super important, right? But it's like, do you have a process to attract and hire the right people, right? And like the reality is like most of you guys do not know how to recruit. You do not know how to source talent, and like at the end of the day, it's like you want to be able to operate in a state of abundance so you're never over leveraged by high quality talent. So how do you make sure that's in place? You know how to recruit people, right? And you make sure you have a process in place for that. And at the end of the day, it's just like, I'll be honest with you guys, like you have to be honest. Like people think, hey, I'm going to go and recruit people, but I'm going to lie about the OTE, right? It's like, newsflash, these salespeople have bid on different offers. If they're pretty good, they have experience, they're going to be, they're going to know what's up and they're not going to stick and they're going to churn, right? So Reda, like for example, we have Reda behind me. He's a pretty successful sales guy. He's good at what he does. What's been your experience with companies? You've worked with a few different companies, the ones who are honest versus the ones who aren't, what does that look like?
At best, OTE is typically inflated by 25 to 30% more than it actually is. And it's often an expectation on the side of the sales rep that that's just going to be the case by default. But on the rare occasion that a company reports an accurate OTE, it definitely builds a lot of trust earlier on.
Right. It makes a big difference. So, and here's the thing, people are like, oh, I want to get the best talent possible. Sure. So does everyone else, right? But you have to ask yourself, like, do I have the qualities as a company to attract an A player? And what would their expectations be? Because at the end of the day, right, it's, let's say if you're doing, let's say you're doing between $50,000 to $80,000 a month, right? You bring in one sales rep, he'll maybe make like what, $8K a month? And that's like if he's collecting every single deal himself, right? Which is okay, right? You'll get someone that's decent. An A player will most likely want to make potentially between $15,000 a month to $20,000 a month. He'll for sure want to make above $10,000 a month, honestly speaking, right? So it's like, can he realistically make that amount? And can you physically like actually take on that amount of clientele too? Like, can your business sustain that amount of volume, right? So it's like, you got to really get clear on what it is that looks like, right? So sourcing talent is one thing. How do you actually source talent, right? So for me, it's like, I'll show you guys what I've done over time. It's like, first of all, I built a really good network straight up from like organic, like social media, Twitter/X, right? Instagram, and believe it or not, like Discord, right? So I've naturally built a good reputation over time, which attracts a lot of talent and people send other people my way. So like if I have a sales rep, I have a sales guy I placed on this company, financial services, he ended up making $250,000 a year. This guy was like literally working at like a minimum wage job. Changed his life, right? And he referred me like some people. And I have another guy, he also referred me great people. So that's the one thing. Referrals are probably the most powerful way to get great talent, right? But at the end of the day, you want to understand it is a volume game, right? So it's like at the end of the day, it's like you want to make sure it's like you can recruit enough people. So it's like it may be a pay to play game and that's okay, right? So this is where like Indeed comes in, right? You could use LinkedIn as well, right? If you're paying a pay to play game, you're gonna have volume, but guess what? You're also gonna have low quality candidates. That is okay, that's part of the game. That's when the next thing comes in is like you wanna have a filtration system, right? You wanna have a filtration process for your recruiting because you wanna make sure you're not spending all your time 24/7 to filter through. If you really want to understand people who recruit well, study people who are door-to-door sales managers. I'm telling you right now, these people have a good understanding of how to recruit, right? And these are people who are recruiting for hard sales jobs. Knocking on doors is not easy, but they're some of the best recruiters in the, like literally in the world, right? So like I try to take their mentality when it comes to recruiting, but in the online space, right? So understand it is a volume game. You need to have a good filtration system and you need to have honest expectations. The other thing too is if you're gonna hire someone and let's just say you cannot hire an A player yet, the thing you're gonna need to value a lot is if you have a B player who has all the right qualities, he's hungry, he's coachable, he buys into your vision, and he genuinely wants to work in your company in the long haul, I'm telling you, you could take this guy into an A player, right, over time, but it's going to take time, 6 to 12 months potentially, right? But the thing is, this guy's gonna make you a ton of money and it's gonna be super worth it. But then you also need to have the right onboarding process, the right systems, the right things in place to actually accommodate him and make sure he's successful, right? So it's like all of this is doable. Like you could build a successful team. You could do it. You could hire the right people. You just have to actually put proper effort into it. And you have to be honest. You have to put all the right assets to have a good job description, have a mini sales letter, Google Doc that presents your presentation well. Sales reps love to get really good context on your offer beforehand. And when you're interviewing for them, if you can have some actual data, that goes a long way. Would you say like would you agree with that? Like again, you've interviewed for some companies too. Like, would you say that's like?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's nice when you don't have to take a month to learn all the ins and outs of the offer. It allows you to be more effective earlier on.
Yep. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Like one thing you guys need to understand, it's just like understand your goal. Like this is gonna be something that's gonna sound a little bit woo-woo, but like when you're recruiting for someone, think of the ideal type of hire you have in mind, like visualize the person. It's gonna sound weird, right? Visualize, see the type of hire you would want. Like almost think and visualize that person, the qualities they have, how they operate, right? How they show up to work, how do they look like, almost like go crazy with it. And like, if you ever heard of these videos where people like visualize or think of their dream partner because they're trying to attract another partner in their life, right? Think about it the same thing, but for your recruiting. I'm telling you there's something to it and then write that shit down. Apart from that, again, it's an execution thing. It's a volume thing. You gotta filter. Me personally, I like to pre-filter candidates aggressively. So I'll get, let's say, a Loom introduction video. I'll get the call recordings. I'll actually talk to them on the phone, right? Or I'll get one of my guys to do it. And I'll really get to know the person, what they wanna do, where they wanna go, what's actually the motivating factor of why they wanna get to the next level. And then from then, I'll also test them skill-wise, right? Like another thing too that people don't do, you gotta test, like filter people out based on, like you wanna do like a 16 personalities test. You never know, you might be dealing with a complete psychopath. You never know, like you wanna deal with people who are not too off the chart, right? So make sure they're like sane mentally and make sure they fit the checkbox. Another thing, which could be a whole nother video, would be actually the scoreboard method. So like a scorecard or whatever you want to call it, right? Like I do this on like every interview I have. It's like a 25-point system. If you want it, you could DM me on Instagram at septième.management and then I'll give you the 25-point scoreboard system. It's really useful. And it just helps you filter out talent. And when you have let's say you have 3 people that are all really good and you don't know who to pick, this will tell you exactly who to pick. But that's about it, man. I'm going to wrap it up. Hope you guys get some value from this.